Okay guys, I have a load of laundry, you know the drill. Gonna do a laundry chat, even though I'm not even sure if I'm gonna really be able to pay attention to the laundry. We'll see, because today's a little different. I wanna give you an update on the book that I finished reading. I wanna give you an update today and film it today because it's due at the library. I think it's overdue at this point. So I need to return it and I need to just finally take time to share this with you guys. I'm really happy that lately I'm trying to like slowly get back into reading. Like I have my devotionals and I share those all the time with you guys, and there's things that I read. I have like daily mass reflections or like Sunday mass reflections that I like to read, but like a whole book, like from start to finish, that's what I'm trying to just do more. And this one had been on my reading list for ages. I had heard so many people talk about it. So I want to talk to you guys about The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. If you can't see the title of it, I really didn't know what to expect, but I was very pleased with this book. It is a very easy read. So if you're into just a book that has weight to it, but that isn't like super intellectual, super like heavy, you know, like difficult to read, then this is a good one. It's definitely a good like intro back into reading if that's kind of like hasn't been your thing for a while. I don't know, I just found it very applicable to my season of life, and I found it very just like at the end, like towards the end, it gives you like some practical steps and like what we can do about this. So point is, I want to talk about it. I'll have it linked if you guys want to buy it and just read it for yourselves, because I do feel like it's a good enough book that I can sit here and tell you with confidence, like I'm pretty sure that you will enjoy this. I am not a book review person also, so my book review is gonna suck. My book review is gonna tell you some of the things that I learned and some of the things that I think are, you know, applicable to this topic, why I wanted to read this in the first place. So that's kind of the thing that I wanted to share in today's video, and I hope that that makes sense. If you guys have laundry you need to fold, feel free to do that and you can listen. But yeah, I had just heard it recommended in a lot of my circles that I'm a part of, because the season that I'm in, as you can tell probably by like videos and just like I haven't been as like on here as much or making tons of content. Like I'm still making content, but like I'm busy. Like I'm in a very hurried, busy season of life. If for some reason you've never seen my face before, like, and you clicked on the video anyway, I have a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And so I've got the 2 big kids doing homeschool with me this year. Riley's in 1st grade. Jackson is doing preschool with me. Sean is a baby, but dude, the toddler stage now, or is he considered a toddler? Oh my God, is he not a baby anymore? I don't know. Like I'll probably call him a baby forever, but he's in a very mobile, active stage right now, and it's hard. Like I'm trying to contain him in places and keeps touching all the things and getting in all the cabinets, and it's hard. But anyway, I'm very hurried, I find, because I find that there's just simply not enough time in the day to do all the things that I either want to get done or need to get done. And I'm sure so many of you guys can relate. Like my mental breakdowns happen. I know I don't film them. They happen. They still happen. I wish that they weren't as often as they're happening. But like my little mental breakdowns, they usually revolve around the fact that I feel like I don't have enough time to do all the things that, again, either I want to get done or need to get done. Like there's some things that are necessities, like, right? Like I need to feed kids. I need to clean certain things, right? Not everything, but like tidy up a kitchen. I can't just not do dishes, otherwise we won't have dishes to eat out of. Like there's things that have to get done, and then there's other things that are just things that I'd like to get done. I'd like to sit down and still continue somewhat of my YouTube career, or like whatever you want to call this at this point. Like the fact is, like this is still part of like my work, and I still get paid to do this, and it's money that, you know, is nice to have in our family, plus homeschooling the kids and being like a full-time teacher and co-op stuff, and like being a full-time teacher almost over there and teaching classes and prepping stuff. Like it's a lot. And like I appreciate you guys so much when you guys message me and you're like, wow, like you're doing a lot, like, you know, props to you. Like it definitely feels nice to feel like seen in that way, because I do feel like I'm doing a lot. But all of that just comes back to this like notion and like the reality that I'm very hurried. Everything that I do, I feel like I have to do it fast, and I have to do it quickly, and I have to do it the most efficiently, because I really have to move on to the next thing and to the next thing. And I have like a to-do list 5 miles long, and then at the end of the day I don't get to most of it, and then I feel like a complete failure because like I'm not, you know, getting the things done that were on that list. And so it's been just a very fast-paced life. And it's funny because like the reason why, or one of the reasons why we homeschool is because I don't want a fast-paced life. Like in theory and like in my brain, it makes sense that like that's not what I want, right? Like I don't want to feel like I'm always in a rush. I don't want to feel like I can never just slow down and breathe. I don't like that. I don't like that by nature. But it's funny because I'm also very much like an I need to accomplish tasks, which is like a whole other video for another day. Like the whole recovering like achievement person, like that I always needed to get an A on my test and I always wanted to get all the things done so that people could be proud of me. Like that's like a whole other therapy session for another day. But it's like, I know that I don't want to be hurried, but also like it's in my nature to want to do all these things. So we're trying, like I am trying, to reflect and to pray and to ask the Lord to help me. And that's like what he is here to help me with, right? Like I recognize that I have all of these like failures. I have all these areas that I need to work on. And that's one of the beautiful things about having such like a loving father who will help you. So sorry, let's get back to the book. The book is actually written by a pastor. He's not Catholic, I'm Catholic, but he's a pastor, a Christian pastor, and I liked his writing style, basically the things that he shared. I didn't have too much of an issue with him. Like there were certain things that I disagreed with him on. He was a tad bit too like social justice-y in some of the things that he would say, but not enough like that, you know, like it bothered me or like completely went against things that I believed in. So I definitely, again, like we learn from each other and we don't have to agree with each other on every single little thing. So I did enjoy reading from him. And basically, if I got the story right, it was kind of like he was the pastor at like one of these mega churches and he led like a whole bunch of different churches and he was like a very busy guy doing really good things, but very, very busy. And so eventually he got to the point where he was like, I don't want to do this. And like he ended up taking a step back and still was a pastor, but like in a smaller area at a smaller church. And that's kind of like the journey that he went on. And so he shares like how he got there and like what that did for him, all of those kinds of things. So I think the beginning part of the book kind of touches on like just why, like as a culture, we've gotten to be this very like hurried culture. And I have a couple things that I want to like actually read or put on the screen and kind of talk about. But before I get to that, one of my big takeaways without even me like going back to my notes that I took away from this book was the idea that if the devil can't make you sin, he will make you busy. And that is such an, like I've heard it before, but it was like a good reminder because as a Catholic, as a Christian, like, again, I still have, like, I still fall short in so many ways, but like at this point, I'm trying to live my life like in a holy way. I'm trying to live my life in a way that glorifies God, and I get it wrong every day, but I'm trying, you know what I mean? And so I very much resonated with that because like I'm trying not to sin and the devil knows that. But I think it's very true that happens like for a lot of people, right? Like if the devil can't make you sin because he knows that you're trying to be holy, then what he is going to do is he's going to try to make you busy and he's going to try to distract you and fill your days with all these tasks and all these things so that you're so hurried and you're so busy. And why? So that then you forget to pray, so that you then don't have time to have a relationship with the Lord, so that you don't, you know, have time to be involved in ministry or just to like be in tune with your vocation as a mother, as a wife, because you've got all these other things on your plate. And so I think that's where the devil does attack us a lot as mothers, as wives, as stay-at-home moms, like whatever the case is. I do think that there's a lot to be said about that. So let me know if you guys think that that makes sense. But yeah, that kind of stuck with me, that the devil will make you busy. And the problem with that is that a lot of times the things that are making you so hurried and so busy, they're very much like disguised and presented in ways where it's like, it looks like this is a good thing, right? Like it could be friendships, it could be groups and organizations, like it could be my co-op even, like all these beautiful, great things that in their own way and if ordered properly are great, beautiful things. Like even those things, even good things, can be skewed or can be wrongly prioritized so that then you become so busy with those good things that you forget the thing that's the most important, which is your relationship with the Lord. So maybe you're still with me, maybe. So he talked a lot about stuff like that, which was, again, maybe I hadn't heard it for the first time in the book, but it was like a very good reminder. And you need these reminders. I need these reminders because like exactly that. Like I am so busy doing all these other things that sometimes I just need someone to like bring me back to like the things that I need to focus on. And all of that is like important. Like there's something here that he wrote that said that even some of like the most sincere and honest people that he knows would tell him that even when they get into the presence of God, they can't pay attention. So like attention is like another big thing, right? Like we are losing our attention spans so quickly. Maybe many of you already like ended this video because your attention span isn't long enough. And I don't even blame you because I do the same thing. Sometimes I turn on YouTube videos and I watch literally for 3 seconds and I'm like, oh, I don't have time for this. And I'm like, I don't have time to watch like 10 minutes. Like what is going on with our brains and with our lives that now we can't even watch or even listen to content for like a whole 5 minutes? Like that is painful. And I'm just preaching to the choir. Like I'm preaching to myself because I watched videos now on my iPad, like even like just shows, right? Like I'm watching Your Honor on my iPad and I'm like fast forwarding. I'm like, this is not healthy. Like I have gone nuts because in my mind, I'm telling myself, well, I don't have time to like watch this. And then it's like, number one, I probably have some time or I can make some time. But if I can't make time to like watch a video in its entirety without fast forwarding, then maybe I just shouldn't watch it. You know what I mean? So like those are all the things that like we're dealing with as a society. For sure, they didn't deal with this like hundreds of years ago. So this is all like, I give us grace is what I'm trying to say, because a lot of the technology and a lot of the stuff that's happening that we're consuming and our phones and all of that, like we're kind of the guinea pigs and like we're dying. These guinea pigs are failing the test. Like this is totally killing us, but I give us grace because like really we're the first ones to have to like deal with this. So again, it's important because, okay, I can't watch Your Honor, I can't watch a show or a TikTok video, YouTube video, whatever, but it is serious when it's like you can't even pray. Like you can't even be alone with your thoughts and have a conversation with our Heavenly Father because we are too distracted and we're like, we don't have time for this. That's a problem. So like he talks about that, talks about attention and just like how toxic and like this hurry culture is for our emotional health, for our spiritual lives. And what I like that he said here too was that hurry is not just a disordered schedule. Hurry is a disordered heart. And then he goes on to say that it's often like this sense of urgency or this hurry culture, like this obsession with hurrying up and doing things faster, like that it's often a sign of something else, of something deeper, something that we're running away from, or childhood trauma, deep insecurity. So like there's like more to it, right? So I thought that totally made sense. Just he gives like a lot of good statistics and like studies that said like in one recent study, 39% of Americans reported being more anxious than they were a year ago. So this whole like overbusied, hurried speed is like the new normal in the Western world, but it's toxic and like the studies are showing that. So like this idea that it's an emotional epidemic and that just because it's happening to everybody, like we can't just say, oh, it's happening to everyone, this is just a new way of life. Like maybe we can just actually stop that. Maybe we can do something about it or at least try, call it out. Because if not, like if we have gotten this bad in just like a period of 10 years, like what about us in 10 years? What about our kids in like 20 years? Like that's like a scary thought. Like that's the stuff that keeps me up at night, thinking about my kids and thinking about like how their brains are going to be working in, 30 years. Like it's really scary because if I can't even myself deal and cope with certain emotions and certain ways of living as a 34-year-old woman, like imagine our kids. And so again, lots of topics, lots of places this conversation could go. I could talk to you guys for hours just about all of these things. But going back to the book, he quotes like other people. And so like somebody else, I don't know who this person was, but he said, the rush and pressure of modern life, it's a pervasive form of contemporary violence. And I think that made like a lot of sense. Like it's violence. And then he says that hurry kills relationships. And then if you think of hurry and like the contrast it with love, like love takes time. Love is, the whole thing, love is patient, love is kind. Like the opposite of taking time is hurry, and so that's kind of like the opposite of love, right? So hurry doesn't have that. Hurry kills joy, it kills gratitude, it kills appreciation, because we're really not appreciating like the present moment. We're not appreciating the stuff that's in front of us. We're not appreciating what God has given us in this moment. And that's like a prayer that I have often in my head, that like I pray to the Lord, like, help me to be present. Help me to appreciate the moment that I have in front of me with my kids, because so often, like, and it's sad to say it, but like I have to, because like we're being real here, and I'm sure that I can't be the only one, but like I have time with my kids and I'm playing with them or whatever, but like I'm not there. Like I'm thinking about, what am I gonna order for groceries? What are we gonna make for dinner? Do I have a lunchbox for them for school? Like, what size shoe are they? I need to order shoes. Who has a sale? Like, I'm thinking of all these other things besides the kids that are in front of me. And it's like, I do these things thinking, like I'm thinking that I'm doing them because I love them. But in reality, like I'm not paying attention to like the actual kid like right in front of me, you know what I mean? So it's like this constant battle, and like I want to be more present, and that means that I have to slow down and just maybe do less multitasking. That's like one of the things that they talk a lot about in the book. And like I've seen that on Instagram, right? Like you see tons of posts like, put your phone down and like pay attention to your kid. And like sometimes like it really does feel like a gut punch, because you kind of feel like you're being shamed, like, wow, you suck as a mother. Like I feel that way too, right, when I see these posts. But I think like the people that usually say that, it's like they say it like out of goodness, because I think we all know that we should put our phones down more. Like, again, I myself use my phone way too much. So it's like this gentle reminder to like be more present. And like as friends, can we remind each other to, again, not that you can never use your phone when your kid is around. Like we have things we have to do too, right? Like if you're managing a home, if you are a homemaker or whatever, like you have limited time in your day. And so yes, sometimes you're gonna have to pull out your phone when your kid is entertained doing something for 5 minutes. Like I'm not saying you necessarily have to live just completely phone free or whatever, but maybe we can make it a little more balanced, right? Like myself included. Maybe even if I reduce my phone time by like 20%, that's still a significant amount of time that I get back to be intentional and present with my kids. Because the reality is, like, I have those moments after they go to bed where I'm like, wow, you know, time is flying and I'm so sad, and Sean is 1, and like, where did the time go? And then half the time I'm like, I wasted my whole day because I was preoccupied with like other things in my brain. So I can see why it's a conversation to be had, and I can see why it's something that we should just kind of think about and just have on our radar. Wow, this shirt got kind of pink, right? Maybe it doesn't look that pink in the camera, but it looks slightly pink because I think I washed Jackson's new Alabama polo with it, so that's fun. And also this is like Riley's little pool cover up. Well, I guess she likes pink. So there's that. But yeah, just like the idea that a successful life has become this violent enterprise where like we're constantly, you know, telling people they have to work more hours or they have to make more money. They have to just do more and be more. Sorry, my camera died. But the fact that like we're always encouraging people, like they have to do more, they have to work more hours, they have to do more, they have to basically sleep in their office so that they can end up being the VP, like girl boss, like chase all your dreams, like all of those things, right? Like that's like the culture, and it's like at the expense of like just some quiet time. And I don't think any of this comes like as a huge surprise, like me talking about this, because I kind of briefly touched on it when I shared my little laundry chat video on kids sports, like extracurricular activities. Like that also like feeds into that hurry culture of like your kid goes to school, gets out of school, then after school it's activity, scarf down your food, then another activity, or scarf down your food, and then homework, and then you do the same thing the next day. And like I don't like that. Like if it works for you, like I said in that video, then great. And if you found a way to do that, great. But there has to be a little bit more like stillness. There has to be, we have to carve out that space for just being. And like then when he goes into like the part in his book where he's like, how do we do that? Like he does talk about the Sabbath and like just having a Sabbath. People do Sabbath different ways, and I'm not saying that you have to necessarily do a full-on Sabbath, or I'm not trying to micromanage what your Sabbath looks like, because right now Joe and I, like, we do Sundays, that's the day that we go to mass, and then Sundays we do typically, like, we'll try to make it a day of just like we hang out with the family, we go see my parents, we make it a much lighter day because really, like, that's what you're supposed to do. But I've never really understood until recently, like, why that's such an important thing. And not because, oh, you need to turn off all your lights and not have internet and like have candlelight dinners and only read books, like, because you're trying to create this fake picture of what your day looks like. Like, some people love that, great, but I'm saying, like, not because of that. You really need Sabbath because you need to rest. Like, we need to rest. And so it goes into like the whole idea of like why you have to rest. And I don't think it was in this book, I think it might have been in one of Father Mike's homilies recently, where he talked about something similar about the importance of rest. And in that, he kind of shared how, like, we don't like work so that we can rest. Like, we don't work in anticipation of like, finally we get a rest day. Like, that's not how it's supposed to be ordered. In fact, we're supposed to rest so that we can then work better after that. Like, rest is the thing that gives us the energy that we need in order to work well, because like God created us to work. Like, he wants us to do productive, good, loving things in our day. He doesn't want us sitting at home like couch potatoes because, wow, this is such a comfy life and I have all the money I need and I don't need to do anything. Like, I don't think that's the vibe. But in order for us to do good work and to go help the poor and to go help people in our ministry, or to work in our vocation as mothers, as husbands, as wives, whatever, like, we need to rest. Otherwise you get burnt out. Like, you get burnt out, you cannot do anything, your brain is fried. So I think that is important, and I do know that I need to spend more time figuring out what good rest days look like, and how I can rest well, and how I can rest even just like in little pockets of my day. Like, can I spend 10 minutes to just look at a wall and do nothing other than pray and be quiet? Like, my house will like never be quiet until the kids go to sleep, but can I just turn my brain like just slightly off, or kind of off, for just a few minutes? That would be really nice. But it's hard because it goes against a lot of my wiring and a lot of just the way that I've been programmed lately, because my brain is constantly going, if I'm doing this, what else can I be doing while I'm doing this? And so it's this constant like trying to do a million things, which actually I think he talks about. So yeah, he actually quotes somebody else, but he quotes this idea that multitasking is the drive to be more than we are, to control more than we do, to extend our power and our effectiveness. And that in practice, what that ends up doing is it divides the self, and it ends up with you giving your attention to nothing. When I read that, I was like, gut punch, because that's literally me, like, every second of my life. And so it's hard because we are these like efficiency, like, and you think about it, like, that's how they train you in the workplace, like how to be more efficient, how to do more so you can produce more. And it's like this more mentality. And so it's very hard to go backwards. But I think that in some way we have to go back to a little bit less hurried living and just be still, give our attention to one thing, give our attention to the things that are actually important. I could again talk about this all day long, but I'm gonna try to wrap it up so that way you can go back to giving your attention to something else. But like, where is our attention going? And I'd like to think that it's going to my family, or it's going to like taking care of my home, or it's going to my faith and working on my relationship with the Lord. Like, those to me are the most important things. But there's no way that I'm gonna be able to work on that with a super high speed pace of living, because there's always something going on, there's always some new shiny thing. And so it really takes a lot of just asking the Lord to help you in that area to feel like you're making progress going in the other direction. And the problem is, like, again, the whole world is going that direction, and you have to really, really want to do something different to go the other direction, because it's so hard. And I mean, that's the case in a lot of different things, not just this hurried living. Like, society is going this way a million miles a minute, and it's very hard to be countercultural. But I don't think it's only like two people trying to be countercultural. Like, I think that there's a lot of us who recognize that there's certain things in today's society that we don't want to be a part of. And I think it's okay to recognize that and to pray about it and to ask the Lord for the courage and the strength and the wisdom and the patience that we need to do something different. So yeah, that's just like my long-winded thoughts. Like, I'm sure I had more thoughts, but again, I want to just finish doing this. But it was a great book, a great reminder. Just know, like, it's very much, you know, coming from a Christian perspective. Talks a lot about the importance, like when he goes into like the 4 practices for unhurrying your life, he talks about the need for silence and solitude, which we kind of talked about. Like, you need to be quiet, you need to have some time alone to pray and to ask the Lord to help you with things, and then just to, you know, to hear him speak to you. Like, if you're constantly bombarding your life with things and distractions, like, how can you hear the Lord speaking to you? How can you hear him moving in your life? And I think that there's a lot to that. And then just the importance of Sabbath and rest. What were the other 2? I think he talked a little bit about minimalism in here, which I think was important too, because then you're, again, busy with all the things that you're buying. So just like a general slowing of life. I think it was simplicity, which was like going into like minimalism. So just some really good practical discussions and good reminders, and a lot of just Christianity and like why we do certain things. So yeah, hurry is a great enemy of spiritual life in our day, and we must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from our lives, is basically what he writes here. So I hope you guys enjoyed just a little chit chat with me. If you're interested, go pick up the book. I'm sure you can just pick up the Audible version of it, the audio version, if you're into that. I still haven't gotten into like audiobooks. I really, if I'm gonna read a book, it has to be like this. This is the only way that I can do it. So if you've read this book, let me know what your thoughts are. If you're interested, or if anything that I shared resonated with you, feel free to share. But I hope that you really do feel like this is just like our girl time. Like, this is the kind of stuff that I would be talking to you guys about if we were like getting together after a long day and having wine and cheese. Like, I would share these books that I'm reading. I'm actually reading right now the book Boundaries. I don't know if you guys have read that one yet, but maybe if I feel like it impacted me as much as this book did, then maybe I will do a little review of it too for you guys. So yeah, that's it, you guys. I love your faces. Thanks for listening. I love you, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.